Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the mind of the anti-hero, but we're going to do it through a powerful parable, a story that really gets to the heart of why sometimes we choose the shadows over the light. So, let me ask you something right off the bat. When you're faced with failure, that overwhelming pressure to succeed, what's your gut reaction? Where do you go to protect yourself? Just kind of hold that thought, because it's absolutely central to the story we're telling today. Our story kicks off with this weary traveler. He shows up in this desolate, empty place. And he's not there to build a home. No, he's building a fortress. And the materials he's using, they aren't stone or steel. They're grievances, resentments. It's a really strange but powerful way to defend yourself from the world. Now, the crazy thing is, this fortress is completely invisible. Why? Because it's a psychological one. It has one job, and one job only: to protect his ego, to make absolutely sure he never has to face his own shortcomings. It's basically a sanctuary built on the foundation of, it's not my fault. Okay, so now let's actually step inside this fortress of shadows and meet its lonely resident. This is where the parable gets really, really interesting, because this guy, he's not just a character, he's an idea. And there he is, the underground man. He is the most extreme version of this retreat from the world. I mean, he doesn't just live in a fortress, he rules it, sitting on a throne he built out of rejecting everything meaningful. He's just mocking the whole world from his own private exile. At the very heart of this fortress is a philosophy: nihilism. And in this story, it's all about tearing down those shining pedestals of virtue and heroism. The underground man, he believes that acting out of pure self-interest isn't cynical. No, it's just being honest about how the world really works. And this is why he's such a fascinating figure. He's not some monster that we can't relate to. He's more like a dark reflection of that little part inside all of us that wants to retreat when things get tough. You know, that voice that whispers, what's the point anyway? So, how in the world is a fortress like this actually built? What are the blueprints for a prison that you make for yourself? While the whole structure, the entire thing, is held up by a victim mentality. It's this incredibly powerful psychological shield. Instead of having to deal with the sting of your own failures, you just deflect it. You blame the world, and by doing that, you keep your pride safe. This image here really lays out the fundamental choice, right? The hero's journey, well, that means accepting responsibility, and that is a heavy, heavy burden. But the anti-hero's path, the one our underground man takes, it offers the quick comfort of blame. But man, it comes at a terrible cost. So what are the actual bricks he's using to build these walls? They're really specific, targeted complaints. His inner monologue probably sounds something like, it's society's fault for demanding too much. It's the economic system's fault. It's my family's fault for failing me. See? Each one is a carefully chosen stone that just reinforces the idea that the problem is out there, not in here. But here's the twist in our story. A fortress that you designed to protect you can very, very easily become your prison. The psychological pressure starts to build, and pretty soon, cracks start to show up. I mean, think about the original purpose, right? Safety, comfort, a place to just self-soothe and hide from that cold wind of failure. It's a totally understandable human impulse. And there is the tragic turn. Those walls that were supposed to keep the world out, they end up trapping him in. The safety he wanted so badly becomes a kind of living death because, well, a life that's only defined by what it rejects isn't really a life at all. It just stifles his potential and cuts him off from everything. But that gnawing pain he feels, that existential dread that's brewing in his corner, that's not just another failure. It's a signal flare. It's like a desperate message from his true self, warning him that this fortress of resentment is just not a sustainable way to live. This duality here really captures the core conflict. He's living in this moral gray area. On one hand, yeah, he's a villain. He's acting only for himself. But on the other hand, he's kind of a savior, because by showing us his flaws so clearly, he becomes a mirror for our own. So the question becomes, how do you escape? How do you dismantle the very walls you so carefully built to protect your own pride? Well, our parable offers a way out. Escaping isn't about brute force. It's about transformation. The parable suggests it's like an act of alchemy. You have to turn the poison of blame into the gold of purposeful effort. It's about fundamentally changing the story you're telling yourself. So here are the steps, the practical stuff. First, you have to see the prison for what it is. You have to recognize those walls. Second, you've got to be willing to feel the sting of failure, to accept that terrifying weight of responsibility. And finally, you have to stop being a side character in a story someone else wrote. You have to become the author. And this is the ultimate reward for all that difficult internal work. It's not just about escaping a prison. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about stepping onto that blank page of your future, not as a victim, but as a force of nature, completely ready to write your own destiny. So, we end right where we began, with a question for you. We all have this tendency to build these little fortresses. The real question isn't whether you build them, but whether you have the courage to tear them down. So, will you stay a side character in your own life, or are you going to choose to be a force of nature?